You wake up, but not to the sound of an alarm clock, an email ping, or the buzz of social media notifications. No, the first thing you hear is the hum of the jungle around you, a constant chorus of birds, insects, and the rustling of leaves in the damp air. You stretch, your skin already sticky with the heavy heat. No air conditioning here, buddy. If anything, it feels like the jungle is trying to give you a warm, sweaty hug to start your day. Now take a moment. Close your eyes. Well, maybe don't close them if you're not used to the Congo's relentless humidity. Picture it. The sun's barely up, but it's already beating down, turning the world outside into a steaming pot of soup. The air's thick, and the scent of damp earth, wet leaves, and something earthy, maybe even a little metallic, fills your lungs. It's the smell of a place that's alive in ways you're not used to. You open your eyes to a world that feels different. Not differently cool like a trending Instagram spot, but like you've been transported back in time. Welcome to the forgotten kingdom of the Congo. Before you can even grasp what's going on, you feel the crunch of leaves underfoot as you take your first steps in a place that doesn't quite belong to this century, or any century that you know. Imagine waking up in a forgotten episode of a history documentary. It's like you just hit the rewind button on time, and now you're living it. This kingdom doesn't do modernity. Forget skyscrapers, Wi-Fi, and the comforting familiarity of your local coffee shop. This place, it's ancient, isolated, and teeming with life in ways you can't even imagine. You look around, towering trees with vines hanging like nature's version of curtains, rivers that twist and wind like snakes through the thick underbrush, and huts made from mud and thatch. If you're wondering where the nearest 7-Eleven is, well, this is the wrong place for that. Here's the twist. You're not just a visitor. You're not an outsider looking in. You're a participant in a living, breathing history lesson. You are, quite literally, a time traveler. But there's no TARDIS, no fancy gear, and certainly no cool gadgetry that comes with being a time traveler in a sci-fi movie. It's just you, a pair of boots that are already regretting this whole jungle business, and a place that doesn't seem to care about your 21st century sensibilities. I'll be honest, at first, this place feels like a dream, or more accurately, a fever dream. Like you've been dropped into a reality where the present is just a distant memory. Everything about this kingdom feels like it's stuck on pause. No need for Netflix, no TikTok challenges, and no one trying to get a perfect angle for their selfie in front of a waterfall. People are just living their lives here in the same way their ancestors did hundreds of years ago. But here's the fun part. The deeper you go, the more you realize that these people, they've got stories, and a whole lot of them are as strange as they are fascinating. So buckle up, my friend, because this journey through time isn't going to be all peaceful rivers and sunsets, although you'll get plenty of those too. You're about to take a peek into a forgotten kingdom, and let me tell you, it's not what you expect. Before we get into the thick of it, though, a quick word from our sponsor, you. If you're liking this whole time traveler in an ancient kingdom vibe, go ahead and hit that like button. I'll be waiting. Oh, and leave a comment with your thoughts on where you'd like to travel back to if you could live in any period. Seriously, I want to know because you know this place is about to get way more wild. Alright, enough talk. Let's get moving. So, picture this. You step out of your temporary hut, made of local bamboo, by the way, into a world that feels alive in every sense. The ground beneath your feet is soft and spongy, giving under each step. You breathe in, and the scent of wet earth, along with the tang of fresh vegetation, fills your lungs. What's that? A distant roar? Don't panic, it's just a lion. No biggie, right? You can't see it, but you can hear it. This kingdom is so full of life that you never quite know what's lurking around you. It's a place where the animals rule just as much as the people. And while the sight of a tiger may give you nightmares back home, here, you accept it as part of your new normal. The jungle is unforgiving, yet strangely beautiful. Each step takes you deeper into the heart of a kingdom forgotten by time. You notice little things you'd never pick up on if you were still glued to your smartphone in a Starbucks. Like the way the leaves above you shimmer in the light, or how the sounds of the birds create a kind of symphony of jungle life. It's mesmerizing and also a little unsettling, like you're walking through a dream that you can't quite shake off. But there's one thing that'll jar you back to reality. You're not alone in this strange new world. A community of people surrounds you, each with a life that's closely tied to the land. They've been here, living much the same way, for generations. Their faces might seem unfamiliar, but their eyes hold an ancient knowledge. They live by the rhythm of the seasons and the pulse of the jungle, moving between villages and working with the land in a way that feels as old as the trees themselves. But what's most fascinating? The way they've managed to survive, thrive, and keep their kingdom alive all these years, despite the modern world's encroachment. It's a paradox, a place untouched by the clock of history, and yet full of stories that are somehow still relevant today. Now that you've woken up and gotten a taste of the environment, let's talk about what you'll be doing next, because no one said time traveling would be easy. Alright, it's time to get real. You've just woken up in the forgotten kingdom of the Congo, and now you're facing the dense jungle in front of you like it's a natural obstacle course. Except there's no cheering crowd, no safety net, and no snacks. Just raw, unfiltered nature. So buckle up, because you're about to embark on your first thrilling test of survival, an adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat. You start walking, and every step feels like you're getting deeper into the unknown. The ground beneath you is soft and spongy, each footfall sinking into a bed of decaying leaves, moss, and whatever else the jungle has decided to throw your way. The air? Thick, like a warm blanket that wraps around your body, sticking to your skin. It's a jungle-sized sauna, with no escape, not even a breeze to cool things off. Sweat already beads on your forehead, and you're starting to wonder if your body has fully processed the idea that it's not going to air condition itself out of this. As you make your way through, you notice the sounds. Crickets chirping, birds squawking, and the rustling of unseen creatures just out of sight. It's a symphony of life, but it's the kind of music that might make you want to turn the volume down just a little. If you're not careful, you might walk right into the path of something or someone. Now, let's be clear. This jungle is no joke. The Congo's rainforest is one of the most biodiverse places on the planet, teeming with creatures that can either amaze you or make you regret ever setting foot into this adventure. You're not just strolling through the woods. You're in a jungle that could make your worst nature walk nightmares seem like a gentle walk in the park. From venomous snakes to hungry predators, the dangers of the Congo are real, and if you're lucky, you'll only have to worry about the more minor stuff, like ants that bite like tiny needles. And then there's the ground itself. Forget the neatly paved paths you'd find back home. This is mud, uneven rocks, and roots that jut out like Mother Nature's version of an angry tripping hazard. You're constantly scanning the ground, trying to avoid stepping on the hidden traps the jungle lays out. One wrong step, and you could twist an ankle or, worse, find yourself face to face with a less than friendly insect. But amidst all this chaos, there's a breathtaking beauty. As you push forward, you start to notice the color of the leaves, vibrant greens and yellows that shimmer as the sunlight filters through the trees. You might even spot a monkey swinging from branch to branch, looking down at you like it's judging you for your lack of tree climbing skills. It's probably right to do so. This is nature at its most magnificent, a sight that will leave you in awe. Now and then, you catch a glimpse of movement out of the corner of your eye, a quick flash of something darting between trees or a distant rustling in the bushes. It's like the jungle itself is alive, watching you, making sure you know this isn't a place for tourists who expect everything to be easy. Oh, and don't forget the mosquitoes. They're here, too, eager to take a piece of your flesh, as if you've wandered into their buffet. But hey, you're not just wandering through this jungle. You're here for a reason. You're about to witness the real life of the Forgotten Kingdom, and for that, you have to keep going, despite the sweat, the bugs, and the threat of stepping on something that might be poisonous. You've signed up for this, so there's no turning back now. As you trudge deeper into the jungle, you start to notice more signs of civilization, or at least what passes for it in a place like this. An occasional hut made from bamboo and leaves, with some smoke rising from a fire where a group of locals is preparing food. There's a rhythm to life here, even in the chaos of the jungle. People wake up early, start their day with the sunrise, and work in harmony with nature to survive. But let's be clear, this isn't the stuff of fairy tales. You're not walking into some picturesque village where everything is perfect and charming. This is a harsh reality. The people who live here, like the kingdom itself, have a relationship with the jungle that's one part awe and one part sheer survival. They depend on the land to feed, clothe, and shelter them, but they also know that the jungle can turn deadly in an instant if you don't respect its power. Historians still argue whether the early kingdoms in the Congo's interior lived in constant conflict with the land or if they coexisted peacefully. Some say it was the relentless jungles that kept invaders away, while others believe that these communities were continually on the defensive, fighting off external threats. Either way, the jungle wasn't a place for soft city folk. It was a place for those who could survive the raw, primal challenges of nature. And here's the thing. Despite all the danger, the locals still find a way to thrive. They've been doing it for centuries. Their skills in farming, hunting, and gathering might not win them any awards in your average survivalist TV show, but they work. The balance they've struck with their environment is both practical and spiritual. The jungle gives, but it also takes, and they've learned to navigate this delicate balance with grace and resilience, a testament to the human spirit. As you press forward, you catch a faint glimpse of movement through the trees. Maybe a hunter, perhaps a gatherer, maybe even someone who's out here showing the new generation how to survive in the jungle. If you're lucky, you'll get a glimpse of their lifestyle, how they walk through the dense undergrowth like they're part of it, not just visitors. How do they know the land like they know their heartbeat? And that's when you realize you're not just visiting the forgotten kingdom of the Congo. You're becoming a part of it. It's a slow realization, but it hits you. This is the jungle's kingdom, and you're only a small, fleeting part of its massive ecosystem. But hey, you're still standing and you're still moving forward. So grab your gear, brace yourself for the next part of your journey, and don't worry about what the jungle has in store. You've survived the jungle so far. Now, let's see how you handle what comes next. You finally reach the village. And let me tell you, it's not the shiny, picture-perfect postcard that you might have imagined when you thought of a place untouched by time. No, this village is raw, gritty, and deeply connected to its past. Forget the eco-resorts you read about online. This place, it's the real deal, untamed, authentic, and exactly what you'd expect when a civilization has been in existence for centuries, refusing to bow to the whims of modernity. The fact that this village has managed to preserve its authenticity and traditions in the face of modern influences is a testament to its resilience and the strength of its cultural identity. The first thing you notice as you step into the village is the sheer quietness of it. Sure, the jungle was loud, full of bird calls, animal cries, and the constant hum of life. But here, the silence is different. It's deep, almost as if the village has its pulse. A rhythm that has been steady for hundreds of years, one that only the people living here truly understand. The jungle, with its abundance of resources and potential dangers, is not just a backdrop but an integral part of the village's life. You hear the crackling of a fire in the distance, the smell of something cooking, maybe a hearty stew or grilled meat, drifts towards you, and for a moment, you wonder if you're being pulled into an ancient dream. But no, this is real. You're standing in a village that feels like it's been waiting for you, ready to show you the way of life that has barely changed in the last few centuries. Look around. There are huts made of bamboo, mud, and thatch, each one distinct, but all blending into the natural landscape. They're not some designer, minimalist homes. You won't find any marble countertops here. Instead, the walls are rough and uneven, like they've grown out of the earth itself. And there's something about the simplicity of it all that makes the modern world feel like a dream you can't quite reach. You realize right away that life here is based on necessity, not convenience. This simplicity, this lack of unnecessary clutter, brings a sense of calm and clarity to the village. You try to take it all in, trying to gauge how the people here live, what they do, and how they survive in a place where the land is both a provider and a threat. The first person you meet is an older woman, her face lined with the kind of wisdom that only comes from years of surviving in a place like this. She smiles, but it's not the kind of smile you'd give when someone asks for directions. No, it's the kind of smile that says, "I know you have questions, but you'll have to work for the answers." As she welcomes you, she hands you a piece of fruit. You take a bite. It's sweet, tangy, and refreshing, an instant jolt to your senses. You're in the middle of the jungle, and yet, this woman's life is intertwined with every leaf, every vine, and every tree around you. The fruit she's offering you, it's part of her livelihood, part of the ecosystem that has supported generations of people just like her. And to think, back home, we're over here Googling how to go green, while these people have been living sustainably for centuries without even breaking a sweat. Their way of life, deeply rooted in the land and its resources, is a testament to their sustainable practices and a model for us to learn from. Now, let's talk about daily life in the village, because it's far more complex than just waking up and going through the motions. Here, everyone has a role. Whether it's farming, hunting, weaving, or building, each person contributes to the overall functioning of the village. It's a cooperative effort in a way that makes modern life seem like a chaotic mess of individualism. But what's fascinating is the lack of rushing. People move with purpose, but it's not frantic. It's measured, deliberate, like they've got all the time in the world. Historians still debate whether life in pre-colonial African villages like these was more communal or hierarchical. Some argue that the communities were close-knit, with everyone contributing to the common good, while others suggest tribal chiefs led an underlying power structure. But regardless of the structure, one thing is sure: these villages were built on the belief that no one is an island. It's not about what you have, but what you give. One of the most striking aspects of the village is how it feels timeless. You look at the people here, dressed in simple clothes made from locally sourced materials, woven fabrics, leather, and beads. They're not obsessed with fashion trends, and they certainly don't care what's in this season. They care about survival, community, and tradition. And weirdly, it's refreshing. No one's running around, glued to their phones, snapping photos for social media. There's no hustle, no rush, just a steady, rhythmic pulse of life that feels entirely in tune with the land. It's a feeling that connects you to a history that predates your existence, a history that is still alive and thriving in this village. The village is also an intricate network of relationships, all woven together like the threads of a tapestry. You watch as the people exchange goods, not with money, but with something far older and, in some ways, more meaningful: barter. A bundle of herbs here, a hand-carved spear there. It's a simple economy, based on trust and mutual respect. It's not the kind of thing you can understand by reading about it. It's something you have to experience. Watching these exchanges, you realize that in a place like this, the value of something is not measured by its price tag, but by its usefulness and the effort that goes into making it. But here's the thing: the village isn't just a tourist attraction. It's not a theme park where you walk in, snap a few photos, and leave. This is a living, breathing place where people live and die. The rhythm of life here may seem slower and more deliberate, but that doesn't mean it's easier. It's a constant struggle against the elements, against the wild animals, and even against the slow but steady encroachment of the outside world. The village is both a sanctuary and a fortress, protected by the very land that sustains it. Yet, it stands firm, a testament to human resilience and the enduring power of tradition. At first, you feel like an outsider. You don't know the customs, the language, or the subtle cues that let you know what's acceptable and what's not. But as you spend more time here, you start to understand the pace of things. You begin to recognize the people's expressions, their body language, and the way they move through their daily routines. You're not just observing anymore. You're part of the village, if only for a fleeting moment. And that's when it hits you. This forgotten kingdom, stuck in time and surrounded by a jungle that never stops growing, is more alive than anything you've experienced. It might not have the luxuries of modern life, but in its simplicity, there's a certain power. A power that's been passed down for generations and, against all odds, still thrives. Alright, let's be real. So far, you've been trudging through the jungle, dodging vines, and trying to survive the heat. But now, you've made it to the heart of the forgotten kingdom. The people who live here, they're not just survivors. They're the reason this kingdom has endured all these years, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. You meet a man named Kofi, who, if you were in a movie, would be the wise elder figure. He's got the kind of presence that makes you feel like you've walked into an ancient legend. He's probably seen more sunrises than most people have had hot meals, and his skin, tanned by years in the elements, shows it. The first thing you notice? The guy's got stories for days. Stories that will leave you thinking, why haven't I heard about this place on the Discovery Channel? The man is a walking history book, except instead of boring old facts, he's got the juiciest tales from generations past. Each one a nugget of wisdom that leaves you hungry for more. Kofi is one of the village's oral historians. You might think, oh, that's cute, a guy who tells stories. But no, these stories are the lifeblood of the culture. They're how history, tradition, and wisdom are passed down here. Forget about textbooks or online courses. If you want to learn about the kingdom's past, you don't Google it. You sit down with Kofi and let him tell you everything. As he speaks, you're drawn into a world that feels both impossibly distant and somehow familiar. He talks about the ancient traditions of the village, about the rituals that have been performed for centuries. It's hard to believe that this isn't some set from a movie, except it's real, and you're sitting there, listening in awe, wishing you'd paid more attention in history class. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how the people here live. These aren't the kind of folks who live in a comfortable, predictable bubble. They're constantly in tune with the land, the seasons, and the rhythms of nature. Take hunting and gathering, for example. It's not just a way to put food on the table. Oh no. For them, hunting is a sacred practice, a profound connection to their spirituality and their reverence for the land. You've heard about sustainable living, right? Well, these people have been doing it for centuries without needing to slap it with a trendy hashtag. They use every part of the animals they hunt, from the meat for food to the skin for clothing and even the bones for tools. Nothing goes to waste, and the process is deeply spiritual. Thank the animal, give thanks to the land, and ensure that the cycle of life continues without disrupting the delicate balance they've maintained with the jungle. It's not just about survival, it's about honoring the life that sustains them. Historians still debate whether these early societies saw their relationship with nature as spiritual or purely practical. Some argue that it was a fusion of both, while others suggest that spirituality played a larger role in how resources were managed and hunted. Whatever the answer is, one thing is clear. This community didn't just use the land, they revered it. Their relationship with the land is not just about survival, but about respect, responsibility, and the understanding that they are part of a larger, interconnected system. And it's not just hunting that binds them to the land. Every crop they grow, every plant they harvest carries meaning. The way they plant and tend their fields is as much about respect for the earth as it is about feeding their families. When they sow seeds, it's not just about growing food. It's about continuing a tradition that's been passed down for centuries. You can practically feel the weight of the history behind each planting season, as if the ancestors are watching, waiting to see if the next generation will honor the old ways. As you sit there, chatting with Kofi, you begin to realize that, in a way, the people here are the last guardians of a way of life that's fading elsewhere. While the modern world moves on, these folks are holding tight to their roots, keeping the culture alive in ways most of us only see in documentaries or read about in history books. They've built their entire lives around the belief that living in harmony with nature is the only way to survive. And trust me, it shows in everything they do. You get the sense that the village isn't just a group of people living together. It's a community built on mutual understanding and respect, not just for each other, but for the environment that sustains them. It's like a living, breathing entity, constantly shifting and changing, but always with the same core values at its heart: respect, responsibility, and survival. But it's not all serene, peaceful vibes. These people face the same challenges that every community does: the threat of outside forces, changing climates, and, of course, the endless struggle to maintain a way of life that's been under siege by the modern world for centuries. There's an undeniable tension here. You can see it in their eyes and hear it in the conversations that go quiet when you walk by. It's a tension between holding onto the past and adapting to an uncertain future. Yet, despite these challenges, they stand firm, their resilience a testament to the strength of their traditions and the depth of their connection to their land. But here's the wild thing about all this. The more you listen, the more you realize that the people here aren't just holding on to the past because they have to, they're doing it because they want to. For them, the traditional ways are not just a matter of survival. They're a matter of pride. This is who they are. This is their identity. And no amount of outside pressure can take that away. And while you're still trying to process all this, Kofi gives you a wink and says something that hits you right in the gut. We are not lost to time. We are time. You, my friend, have just stepped into a story that never ended. At that moment, it clicks. You're not just a tourist here. You're part of something much larger. You're standing in the footsteps of people whose ancestors walked this very land, living their lives as they always have, untouched, unbroken, and undeniably present. Before you leave, Kofi hands you a piece of carved wood. For remembrance, he says. You'll need it when you leave. It's a small gift, but to you, it's a key, an entry into a world you might never fully understand but will forever carry with you. As you head out, the sounds of the village fade into the background, and you can't help but feel a sense of awe. This forgotten kingdom, isolated and seemingly stuck in time, has so much more life than you could ever imagine. And you, my friend, are lucky enough to witness it. You've had a taste of village life, now let's dig a little deeper. This kingdom is built on more than just shared stories and mutual respect for nature. It's built on the sweat, blood, and hands-on work that sustains everything here. Forget about picking up your phone to order food or call a repairer. Here, survival is an art form, and the locals are the true masters. Welcome to the ancient world of crafting and self-sufficiency. As you walk through the village, you start to notice the handmade goods everywhere. Everything around you, from the tools people use to the clothes they wear, was created by the very hands of those who live here. It's the kind of craftsmanship that most people in the modern world would envy if they had the time or patience to create it. You see a woman weaving a basket out of long grasses, each strand interwoven with such precision that it looks like it could hold an entire year's worth of rice. There's no factory-made material here, no assembly line. Everything is born from the earth and perfected by skill passed down through generations. You watch as the village blacksmith, an older man named McKenna, carefully molds a piece of metal over an open flame. The rhythmic clanging of his hammer against metal is oddly comforting, a reminder that not all things are created in haste. His movements are slow and deliberate, as if he's syncing his rhythm to the very beat of the land itself. This is no fast fashion operation. Here, tools aren't disposable. They're meant to last for generations. As you observe McKenna, it becomes clear that the tools he creates aren't just functional. They're symbols of survival. Each one represents a lifeline. Without an appropriately crafted tool, the entire community could struggle. And that's the thing about life here. Everything is crafted with intention. A simple tool is not just a means to an end. It's part of a deeper connection to the land and its people. The knives, spears, and farming tools are more than objects. They're pieces of history, a physical manifestation of the culture that has endured in this kingdom for so long. The process of crafting here is more than just about physical labor. It's a meditative practice. As you watch the craftspeople, you can't help but marvel at their patience. Take the spear makers, for example. They start with a simple branch, strip away the excess wood, and begin sharpening it into a fine point. But it's not a quick process. This spear is an investment. Every stroke of the blade is done with a thoughtfulness that is rare in today's world. When you make something with your hands in a place like this, you don't just rush through it. You savor every step. After all, this spear could be the difference between life and death. You try to follow along, eager to get your hands dirty. McKenna hands you a chunk of raw wood and a small knife. Go ahead, he says. Carve something. You fumble at first, unsure of where to start. It's frustrating. The knife feels heavier than you expected, and your movements are clumsy. But as you keep going, a strange thing happens. You begin to fall into a rhythm just like the village artisans. It's the rhythm of survival, of living in harmony with the earth. The wood begins to take shape in your hands, and suddenly, you understand why these people take so much pride in their work. It's not just about the end product, it's about the process. The act of creating something with your own hands, something that will serve a purpose, gives you a sense of accomplishment that a credit card or a paycheck could never provide. As you finish, you hold up your creation. A simple wooden tool, but for you, it feels monumental. McKenna gives you a nod of approval. It's not much, but it's a start. You realize you're part of something bigger now. Every piece of wood, every tool made, carries with it the weight of history. There's a reason these skills have been passed down for so many generations. They're not just practical, they're a way of connecting with the past, with ancestors who lived and worked in the same way. Historians still argue about whether pre-colonial African societies like this were as reliant on craftsmanship as we think, or whether trade and external influence played a more significant role in their daily lives. Some suggest that craftsmanship was the backbone of their economy, while others point to the influence of outside kingdoms. But one thing is clear: the people of this kingdom knew how to make do with what they had, and in a way they thrived because of it. It's easy to romanticize a life like this, but don't get it twisted. It's hard work. These villagers don't just wake up and get to crafting. There's a deep sense of responsibility behind everything they do. Every tool, every piece of clothing, and every shelter is a testament to their commitment to survival. It's like living in a world where nothing is disposable, where everything has value, and where the work you put in is directly tied to how well you live. But the crafts aren't just limited to tools and survival items. You're soon introduced to the art of beadwork, something the people here are incredibly skilled at. You watch as a young woman named Amina works with tiny, colorful beads, threading them together into intricate patterns. The beads are a symbol of status, but they're also a form of self-expression. Each design tells a story, a personal history, a connection to the land, or a message about the future. You can't help but be fascinated by the level of detail that goes into each piece. It's not something that can be rushed. It's an art, a form of storytelling passed down through generations. As you chat with Amina, she tells you that every bead has meaning. A red bead might symbolize strength or courage, while a green bead represents growth or fertility. You begin to see how the art of beadwork, much like the craftsmanship of the tools, ties the people here to their culture and environment. Each item they create is imbued with a sense of purpose. Whether it's a tool for survival, a piece of clothing, or a simple bead bracelet, everything in this kingdom is connected, and nothing is made without thought. When you look at the kingdom as a whole, it's clear that the people here are not just surviving. They're living in a way that most of us can't even imagine. In a world that's constantly moving faster, pushing for convenience and instant gratification, the people of this forgotten kingdom are taking their time. They craft, they create, they build, and in doing so, they preserve a way of life that might seem ancient but is more alive than ever. As you walk away, your hands still smelling of fresh wood, you can't help but think, maybe there's something we've forgotten in the rush to modernize. Maybe, just perhaps, the true art of survival isn't found in technology or shortcuts, but in the slow, deliberate process of making something with your own hands. And you're beginning to see that this ancient way of life might be the key to surviving and thriving in a world that seems to be moving too fast. Alright, now that you've had a taste of how the people in this forgotten kingdom live, let's talk about what an actual day here looks like. Spoiler alert, it's not like your average 9 to 5. If you even try to compare this lifestyle to the structured chaos of modern life, you'll quickly realize just how far removed you are from what you're used to. Picture this. The sun rises early, and before the first light touches the horizon, the village is already awake. No snooze button to hit here. You wake up to the sound of drums in the distance, the rhythmic beat signaling the start of the day. For the people in this village, the drum isn't just a musical instrument. It's the heartbeat of their culture. It's their alarm clock, their calendar, and their message board. One drumbeat can tell you everything from "it's time to harvest" to "we need rain." It's the sound of the land, echoing through the village, and it pulls you out of your cozy, dreamlike state quicker than a triple-shot espresso. As the light slowly creeps across the sky, you notice the village starts to come alive. People trickle out of their huts, their faces sleepy but determined. Their day doesn't start with a phone check or a cup of coffee. It begins with a purpose. The men head to the jungle for hunting or to gather wood and materials for building, while the women prepare the day's food or tend to the crops. Everyone has a role, but there's a rhythm to it, no stress, no rush. It's almost as if they're dancing to the beat of nature itself. It's fascinating because back home we tend to think of work as something that happens in a stuffy office or a factory, behind screens or closed doors. But here, work is part of the land. It's about planting seeds in the soil, making sure the fire burns bright, or fixing a broken tool. There's no clocking in or clocking out. Work happens as needed, and it's satisfying. The simple act of providing for yourself and your community is fulfilling in a way that feels alien to someone accustomed to the treadmill of modern life. Let's not sugarcoat it, though. Working in the Congo, even in a small village like this, isn't always as romantic as it might sound. There's no easy road. When a man heads out to hunt, it's not like in the movies where animals pop out of the woods, eager to meet their fate. Oh no, this is the jungle. The hunt can last hours, even days. The jungle itself isn't just a backdrop to the people's lives. It's a living, breathing entity that demands respect, and sometimes it gives nothing back. There's a quiet, tense understanding that life here is fragile and that survival is never guaranteed. You get a glimpse of this when you tag along with one of the hunters. You follow them through the thick underbrush, each step slow and calculated. Every sound seems amplified. The snap of a twig underfoot, the rustling of leaves as an unseen animal moves through the trees. There's a silence between you all. No talking, no distractions. Just focus. It's almost meditative, like every step is part of some ancient ritual. And maybe it is. Hunting here isn't just about food. It's an offering to the spirits of the land. The land that gives life is also the land that demands respect. Speaking of rituals, let's dive into something equally important: the spiritual side of life. You can't talk about the daily life of the Congo Kingdom without acknowledging the powerful influence of spirituality. If you think people here are just working from dawn to dusk with no deeper connection, you'd be wrong. Every action, whether it's planting crops or weaving baskets, is imbued with spiritual meaning. You see, the people here don't live on the land. They live with it. Every tree, every animal, and every river has significance. And that's not just folklore. It's deeply embedded in their daily routines. You can't just pick a random spot to plant seeds. No, you've got to honor the land first. There are rituals, prayers, and offerings to ensure that the crops grow strong. The ancestors are never far from the minds of the people here. They've got the spirits of their forebears guiding them in everything they do. One of the rituals you witness involves the village's elders, who gather in a circle at the center of the town, singing songs that date back hundreds of years. The songs are meant to call on the spirits to protect the land and the people, to ensure that the harvest is plentiful, and that the animals are abundant as well. The voices rise and fall in unison, and you can feel the weight of history in the air. It's humbling, in a way. You've seen music used as entertainment or celebration back home, but here, it's purposeful. It's like the very act of singing, of communing with the ancestors, can shape the future. Now, here's where things get a little mind-blowing. Imagine this: for these people, the concept of time is fluid. No, seriously, the way they view time is radically different from our clock-based existence. There's no sense of urgency here. No constant need to keep an eye on the watch. No hurry up, we're running late mentality. Time flows differently. The rhythm of nature measures it, the changing of seasons, and the movements of the stars above. And yet, this is a culture that has endured and thrived without needing to rush through life. While you're still grappling with the concept of living without deadlines. Seriously? Can you imagine? Let's talk about something else. Food. In a place like this, food is sacred. It's not just about filling your stomach. It's about respect, gratitude, and community. The cooking happens early in the day, and by midday, you're all gathered around the fire for a communal meal. It's basic, but it's good. Stews made with vegetables and meats from the jungle, rice and root vegetables, served alongside freshly made flatbreads. But it's not just the food that's important. It's the process of gathering around the fire, of sharing a meal with others, and of taking a moment to reflect. The conversation is light, but there's a deeper undercurrent of connection. A reminder that you are all in this together. In this moment, everything feels right. The world may be moving at a breakneck pace elsewhere, but here you have nothing to prove and nowhere to be. You're part of something timeless. As the day winds down, you notice the community coming together for the evening rituals. Drums start to beat again, this time for a different purpose. The rhythm is slower, more deliberate. The elders are sitting around the fire, telling stories and passing on knowledge. It's here that you realize something important. For the people of this forgotten kingdom, every day is a dance between survival, spirituality, and connection. There is no clocking out. You're always working, always praying, always learning, always living. And in that moment, as you sit by the fire, surrounded by people who've been living this way for centuries, you get it. You understand why this kingdom hasn't been forgotten by its people. It's not because they're isolated. It's because they found a rhythm, a way of life that most of us have forgotten. Time doesn't rush here. It flows. As the evening sets in and the sun dips below the horizon, the village starts to change. The heat of the day fades, replaced by the cool, heavy air of the night. The sky above, rich with stars, feels like it's alive with stories. Here in this forgotten kingdom, the myths and legends are more than just bedtime stories. They are the lifeblood of the community. They're not just whispered around campfires, they're lived. As you sit around the fire with the villagers, you can feel the weight of the past pressing in around you. It's not just the crackle of the flames or the haunting notes of the drums echoing through the jungle. It's the presence of ancestors watching over you, listening to the stories being told. Every tale that's passed down is more than just a story. It's a roadmap for living, a lesson for surviving. The younger generation, with their eyes wide and eager, play a crucial role in this, as they hang on every word. For them, these stories are sacred, a blueprint for understanding the world and their place within it. You listen entranced as one elder, a repository of wisdom and respect in the community, begins to tell the story of Nzatsi, the great ancestor who once walked this land. According to legend, Nzatsi was not just a man. He was a force of nature, capable of calling upon the wind and the rain. When a great drought threatened the village, it was Nzatsi who climbed to the highest peak in the jungle and, with his hands raised to the heavens, brought the rain. The elder's voice drops to a whisper, and for a moment, the entire world seems to hold its breath. The rain that followed wasn't just water. It was a gift, a reminder of the strength of the land and the spirits that protect it. As the fire flickers and the stars shimmer above, you start to feel like you're part of something ancient, something bigger than yourself. Here, in this remote corner of the world, these legends aren't confined to pages in a book. They are alive. The people here don't just remember these stories. They live by them. They are a connection to their past, a way to understand their world. You begin to see how the land, the spirits, and the people are all intertwined. Everything has meaning. Every rock, every tree, every river has a story to tell. Historians still argue whether the African kingdoms of the Congo relied more on their oral traditions or written records. Some say oral history played a dominant role, while others suggest that written records existed but didn't survive. What's undeniable, however, is the power of storytelling here. It's how history is preserved, how traditions are passed down, and how the very identity of the village is maintained. It's not about reading ancient scrolls. It's about sitting around a fire, hearing the crackling wood, and feeling the stories in your bones. Here, the stories don't die. They evolve, and each generation adds its chapter. As the night goes on, you start to realize that these stories are a form of wisdom, sometimes cryptic, sometimes playful, but always relevant. One legend you hear is about a massive serpent that lives deep in the jungle. The serpent is said to protect the land, but also to punish anyone who takes more than they need. It's a reminder of the delicate balance of nature. Take too much, and the serpent will make sure you don't take another step. At first, you chuckle at the idea of a giant snake lurking in the jungle, but the more you listen, the more you realize that the legend is more than just about the serpent. It's about respect for the land. It's a warning. Take only what you need, don't disrupt the natural order, and always give thanks for what you receive. This isn't just folklore. It's a moral code embedded deep within the fabric of the community. The more stories you hear, the more you understand how much these legends shape daily life. They aren't mere entertainment. They're lessons in survival, in respect, and in understanding the natural world. They help the villagers navigate their relationship with the jungle, a relationship that is not just about survival but about thriving. When the land is generous, they remember Nzatsi, the ancestor who brought the rain. And when the jungle is unforgiving, they remember the serpent, the guardian of balance. These stories aren't just tales of the past. They are guides for the future, shaping the villagers' practical relationship with the jungle. At some point, you realize something else. You've been here long enough now that the lines between the myths and your reality start to blur. The jungle, the village, the people, they all feel like a living, breathing thing. You begin to feel a deep connection to the spirits they talk about, the ancestors whose names you've only just learned. Maybe it's the sounds of the jungle that make you feel this way. The wind through the trees, the distant calls of animals, the way the firelight dances across the faces of the villagers. It's as if you've become a part of a place that exists between the physical and the spiritual worlds. The villagers seem to feel this too. You notice that they move differently with a quiet confidence. There's no fear in their eyes, no uncertainty. They live in perfect harmony with the world around them, in sync with the rhythms of the land. It's not that they're immune to hardship. They've faced countless challenges, from droughts to wild animals to the changing seasons. But they face these challenges with a sense of peace, an understanding that the land will provide, as long as you respect it. You're starting to realize something profound. The reason this kingdom has survived all this time is because of its deep, unshakable connection to the land and the stories that have kept that connection alive. It's not just about surviving the jungle. It's about thriving within it, understanding its cycles, and living in harmony with its unpredictable nature. The jungle may be a harsh and unforgiving place, but it's also a source of life, a place of wisdom, and a cradle of culture. The night continues, and the village grows quieter. The last of the stories fades into silence, and you find yourself alone with your thoughts. The stars above seem to shine brighter now, as if they, too, are part of the story that's been told. You sit there, letting the quiet settle over you, knowing that you've just witnessed something rare. A living, breathing culture that still holds its ground in a rapidly changing world. And as you look around, you can't help but wonder, how much of this forgotten kingdom, with its rich history, will survive the onslaught of time? Will these stories continue to be passed down, generation after generation? Or will they, like so many other things, fade into the past? One thing's for sure, you've been a part of something special here, and you won't forget it. As you sit there, lost in the quiet reverie of the village, it's hard to imagine that anything could disrupt this delicate world. The people here seem untouched by the outside world. Their rhythm is steady, their lifestyle almost stubborn in its refusal to change. But there's a shadow that looms over this kingdom, a slow, insidious threat that has been creeping in, little by little. It's the modern world, and it's coming for them, whether they're ready or not. You see, life in this forgotten kingdom has remained essentially unchanged for centuries, but the outside world doesn't rest. Roads are being built deeper into the jungle. People from outside the village come and go, offering shiny trinkets, gadgets, and promises of a better life. The younger generation, curious and eager to explore the world beyond the trees, is beginning to look outward. They hear stories of big cities, of technology, of opportunities that are, in their eyes, too good to pass up. At first, it seems harmless. A few kids from the village visit a nearby town, see a phone for the first time, and the next thing you know, they're asking if the elders have heard of Wi-Fi. It's funny at first. You laugh. After all, it seems ridiculous that people here could be interested in something as trivial as Wi-Fi when they've survived for generations without even electricity. But then, you see it, the spark of curiosity, the yearning for more. It's a hunger that wasn't there before, one that grows with each passing day. The villagers, especially the older ones, feel the shift. There's a quiet discomfort that you can't quite shake. The younger generation wants to try on the modern world, to taste the promise of something bigger. They look at their elders and wonder if this simple life is enough. They hear the sirens call of cities, where there's fast food, electricity, and endless entertainment. Why stay in a place that seems stuck in time when there's a whole world out there, ready to be explored? It's a delicate dance. On the one hand, you have the ancient ways, preserving the culture, the traditions, and the connection to the land. On the other hand, there's the allure of something more advanced. These younger generations are torn. They respect the old ways, they've been raised on these stories, these rituals, these connections to the earth, but they also know the world is changing. The globalized world is getting closer, and they're not blind to the opportunities it offers. The older villagers, those who carry the history of their people, watch with growing concern. They don't want their way of life to disappear. They don't like the stories of Nzatsi, the mythical hero who saved the village from a great flood, or the wisdom of the serpent, a symbol of resilience and adaptability, to fade into oblivion. They've held on to the past with every fiber of their being, and now they see the future creeping in. There's a sense of urgency in the air. They're trying to adapt, to make room for the modern world without losing their identity. They're starting to teach their children about the importance of technology, not to replace their traditional ways, but to complement them. It's an uneasy balance, and not everyone is convinced that it's the right path. One elder, a man named Adama, pulls you aside one evening, his face etched with concern. "You see, my friend," he says, "we have survived because we know who we are. We know our place in this land, and it has kept us alive. But now the outside world wants to change that. They want us to become something else, something different." His voice quivers with a mix of fear and defiance. "But we cannot forget who we are. If we forget that, we will lose everything. Our stories, our rituals, our connection to the land, all of it." Adama's words linger in your mind long after the conversation ends. You can see the conflict in the village. There's the desire to embrace progress, to give the younger generation the tools they need to succeed in a changing world. But there's also the fear of losing the heart of the kingdom, its identity, its traditions, its way of life. It's a struggle that's happening all over the world. But here, it feels more personal. The stakes are higher because, in this forgotten kingdom, survival isn't just about feeding the body. It's about preserving the spirit. Historians still argue whether indigenous cultures can truly maintain their identity while integrating aspects of the modern world. Some believe that adaptation is necessary for survival, while others insist that it leads to cultural erosion. In this case, the question is still up in the air. Can this forgotten kingdom preserve its unique way of life while allowing for change? Or will it, like so many other cultures, fade into history, its stories and customs replaced by the noise of the modern world? And there's another layer to this dilemma: access to resources. The village's traditional methods of farming, hunting, and crafting have served them well for centuries. But as the population grows, the land is being stretched thinner. The jungle, while vast, cannot sustain an ever-expanding community forever. The younger generation knows this. They understand that progress might bring solutions, new ways of farming, new tools, and new medicines. They're eager to learn, but they're also cautious. They don't want to lose what their ancestors fought so hard to protect. It's a tense time for the kingdom. The change is inevitable, but no one knows precisely what it will look like. Will they be able to hold on to their traditions, or will the weight of the modern world crush them? It's a delicate balance, and one that will require every ounce of wisdom the elders possess. The younger generation must understand that progress is not inherently bad, but it must be embraced without sacrificing the essence of what makes them who they are. And yet, as you sit in the firelight, listening to the drums of the village, you can't help but wonder, is this the end of the forgotten kingdom as it was? Or is it the beginning of a new chapter? The stories will still be told, of course. They'll never disappear. But will they be told in the same way? Will they be passed down with the same reverence? Or will they become relics of a world that no longer exists? The future is unwritten, and the fate of this kingdom hangs in the balance. The next chapter is yet to be written, but one thing is sure: the world is watching. And whatever happens, this kingdom will not be forgotten. By now, you've started to get a sense of the tension simmering beneath the surface of village life. It's not just the younger generation wanting to leave their mark on the world. It's the older generation holding on to something deeply sacred: their identity. The kingdom's identity. As the battle between tradition and modernity grows louder, you can't help but wonder, will they find a way to hold on to both, or will they have to choose? Take the annual Harvest Festival, for example. It's a time of celebration, music, dancing, and food. A beautiful tradition, one that's been passed down through countless generations. But this year, something's different. As the festival approaches, you notice that the young people are starting to change the way they're celebrating. The traditional songs are still being sung, but now there's something new. A catchy, modern beat that's creeping in. The drums, which once echoed the rhythms of the ancestors, are now joined by electric guitars and synthesizers. It's not exactly what the elders had in mind. You see the discomfort on their faces as they sit by the fire, watching the young people dancing with an energy that's part old and part new. One elder, Kofi, leans over to you and mutters, "The drumbeats, they have changed. It's not the same sound anymore." His words are tinged with sadness, as if he's mourning the loss of something precious. The young people don't see it that way, of course. For them, this isn't a betrayal. It's progress. It's their way of saying, "We're ready for something new." As you watch the festival unfold, you can't help but feel the dissonance in the air. On the one hand, the energy is electric. People are excited, happy, and full of life. But on the other hand, there's an unmistakable feeling that something is slipping away. The tradition, the rhythm of the past, is becoming something else. It's evolving, yes, but it's also being altered in ways that some can't quite accept. And here's where it gets complicated. Is it wrong for the younger generation to want to change things? After all, isn't it their right to forge their path? Isn't that how the world moves forward? The elders seem to think so. There's a deep concern in their eyes when they watch the younger generation push forward into unfamiliar territory. Their struggle is palpable, their concern for the future of the kingdom evident. But maybe, just maybe, change is inevitable. The world doesn't stay the same, and even the most sacred traditions eventually evolve. Still, it feels like a bittersweet moment, like witnessing a living creature slowly transform, unsure if it's for the better or worse. The younger generation, for all their desire for change, still cling to certain things. They might be listening to electronic beats now, but they're still wearing the traditional beads that their grandparents wore. They might be swiping on smartphones, but they're also passing down the stories of Nzatsi, just as their ancestors did. It's like they're trying to create something new while keeping the old close to their hearts. This respect for tradition is a testament to their deep connection to the past. And maybe that's the key, a balance between progress and preservation. It's not just about technology or music, though. There's a deeper struggle happening, one that affects the very foundation of the kingdom. It's the question of land. With the jungle encroaching on their territories and the modern world inching closer, the villagers find themselves in an existential crisis. Do they continue farming the way they always have, or do they adopt new methods? Do they cut down more trees to expand their village, or do they try to live more sustainably as their ancestors did? These are tough questions, and they're not just questions for the elders to answer. The younger generation, who've seen how the outside world operates, are starting to push for answers. They argue that they can't keep living in the past. They need to adapt if they're going to survive. But how much change can they handle before they lose everything that makes them who they are? It's a delicate issue. On one hand, the land is the kingdom's soul. It's the source of everything: food, shelter, and spirituality. On the other hand, the modern world is demanding resources, attention, and energy. The outside world doesn't care about the kingdom's traditions. It only cares about profits, growth, and development. And as more and more people arrive with the promise of progress, the question becomes harder to answer. How do you balance keeping your culture alive with the need to survive in an ever-changing world? The elders, in their wisdom, understand the gravity of this dilemma. They've lived through enough to know that they can't stop time. They can't stop progress. But they also know that if they don't find a way to adapt without losing themselves, they could lose everything. They don't want the kingdom to disappear, but they also don't want it to become a shadow of what it once was. Their acceptance of change, while challenging, is a testament to their adaptability. It's a conversation you hear frequently now, in hushed tones and quiet gatherings. The future of the kingdom is being discussed in ways that you never thought possible. You hear young people talking about how they want to move to the city to work in factories or schools. You listen to them talking about things like job opportunities, modern medicine, and better lives. And yet, there's a hesitation in their voices. They know deep down that they can't just turn their backs on the land. They can't forget the stories, the rituals, and the deep connection to their ancestors. As you read this, I invite you to consider, what would you do in their place? How would you balance the allure of the modern world with the pull of tradition? Historians, too, still debate how societies change. Some believe that when you mix tradition with modernity, something new and beautiful is born. Others argue that this blending dilutes the culture, making it a mere shadow of its former self. Here, in this kingdom, that debate is playing out in real time, and you're watching it unfold. It's hard not to feel torn. There's something undeniably beautiful about the old ways, the rhythm of the drums, and the belief in the spirits of the land. But there's also something undeniably exciting about the future, about the chance to explore beyond the jungle and see the world. As the night goes on, the festival winds down, and you can't help but reflect on everything you've witnessed. The people of this forgotten kingdom are at a crossroads. The future is uncertain, and no one knows precisely where it will lead. Will they find a way to keep their culture intact, or will the tide of progress sweep them away? It's a question that will haunt this kingdom for generations to come. But one thing is clear. This kingdom story is far from over. Whatever happens next, the lessons of the past will remain in the hearts of those who carry them forward. And as long as the stories continue to be told, whether on a drum or through a smartphone, this kingdom will never truly be forgotten. The cool night air has settled in, but something else is shifting. Something far more subtle, yet much more potent than the breeze. As the days pass, you start to notice a tension in the air that you didn't feel before. It's not just the younger generation pushing for change or the elders holding on to the old ways. Something's bubbling beneath the surface, something that no one saw coming. A true crisis, or perhaps a catalyst for transformation. It's the intersection of these two forces, the old and the new, that will ultimately decide the fate of this forgotten kingdom. For years, the people here lived in relative isolation, untouched by the world beyond the jungle. The villagers never needed much, just the earth, their hands, and the stories of their ancestors. But now, things are different. The outside world is knocking on the door, and the once stable kingdom is starting to feel the strain. It's not just the young people's curiosity. It's the subtle, unrelenting pressure of modernization that's making itself felt in small ways. It's the government sending representatives to talk about development. It's the sudden appearance of construction equipment near the village outskirts. And it's the increasing number of outsiders who come with promises of jobs and better living conditions. This creeping change is beginning to feel like more than just a passing storm. It's a tidal wave, and the village isn't sure if it's going to crash or wash over them, leaving their culture and traditions intact. And now you begin to see the cracks. Small at first, but impossible to ignore. At the last council meeting, something unusual happens. For the first time in decades, the elders are divided. It's not the usual harmony that binds the council together. This time, there's disagreement, a rift forming between those who want to preserve the old ways and those who see the potential in embracing the new. This isn't the first time the village has faced a challenge. They've survived droughts, famine, and war. But this is different. The stakes are higher now, and they're not just fighting to survive, they're fighting to preserve their very identity. You watch the council members argue, some passionately defending tradition, others arguing that progress is necessary for the future of the kingdom. You can feel the weight of the argument, the fear that their way of life might be swallowed up by the rapidly changing world outside the jungle. The problem, you quickly realize, isn't just about change, it's about control. The question isn't, should we change? But, who gets to decide how much we change? The younger generation is eager to leap forward, to incorporate modern technology, and to embrace new ideas that could improve the quality of life. And yet, the older generation isn't ready to let go. They fear that without their guidance, without the steady hand of tradition, the kingdom will lose its soul. It's a tug of war, but this isn't a battle between good and evil. It's a battle between two equally valid and deeply rooted desires: progress and preservation. But here's the thing. Both sides, despite their differences, have valid points. You can see the dilemma playing out in real time. The elders know that modernization could bring greater health care, better infrastructure, and improved living standards. But they also know that they could get something else: the erosion of their culture, their stories, and their land. The younger generation, on the other hand, sees opportunity. They're not looking to erase the past, they want to add something new to it. But in doing so, they risk disrupting the delicate balance that's been in place for centuries. The real question becomes, can they find a middle ground? Can they take the best of the old and the new and create a future that's both rooted in tradition and open to progress? The village's elders seem to think so, but they're unsure how to guide the younger generation toward a solution that won't sacrifice the very essence of their identity. It's like trying to hold a river in your hands. You can't stop it from flowing, but you can guide it in the right direction. One evening, you find yourself sitting with a group of young people, all of them eager to discuss the future of the kingdom. There's Tessa, who dreams of being a doctor, and Malik, who's obsessed with technology. They're all talking about their hopes and fears for the future. And as you listen, you realize something profound. They don't want to forget where they come from. They don't want to erase their past, they want to build on it. But they also want to see a world beyond the jungle, a world of possibility. Tessa speaks passionately about the importance of modern medicine. "My grandmother died of a sickness we couldn't cure," she tells you. "What if we could save lives with the right treatments? What if I could bring those resources here?" Malik, on the other hand, is all about technology. "We don't have to lose who we are," he insists. "We just need the tools to connect to the world. I've seen the way technology can help people. Imagine what we could do with the right knowledge." But as they talk, you can't help but wonder, is it possible to have both? Can the kingdom move forward without leaving its traditions behind? Can they modernize while preserving what makes them unique? You've seen the benefits of tradition, the deep connection to the land, the spirituality, and the wisdom passed down through generations. But you've also seen the limits. The world outside is changing rapidly, and if they don't adapt, they might get left behind. What the kingdom needs is not an either/or solution. It requires a way to blend the best of both worlds, a way to preserve the wisdom of the past while incorporating the resources of the future. The village needs to find a way to teach the younger generation to respect the traditions while giving them the tools to innovate. It's about finding balance, about taking the best of both worlds and creating something new, something that honors the past while embracing the future. And then, when you think you've got the answer, a new problem emerges. A group of outsiders, business people and government officials, arrive in the village, offering to build a road through the jungle. Promises to bring wealth, jobs, and development. It sounds like the perfect solution, at least on paper. But there's a catch. The road will cut through sacred land. Land that holds the stories of the ancestors, the memories of the village's birth, and the roots of their culture. It's a turning point. The people of the kingdom must decide whether to accept the offer, embrace the promises of progress, or fight to preserve their land and their traditions. It's a decision that will affect everything: their culture, their identity, and the very future of the kingdom. Historians still argue whether the preservation of culture is worth the cost of progress. Can a society thrive while holding onto the past, or must it let go of some things to grow? This is a question that will define the kingdom's future. And right now, you're caught in the middle of it, just as torn as everyone else. As the days go on, you can feel the weight of the kingdom's looming decision. The tension is palpable, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. The village is torn. The elders are divided. The younger generation is impatient. And the world outside presses ever closer, ready to offer both promises of economic growth and risks of cultural erosion. The question that everyone is asking, and the question that you, too, can't stop thinking about, is simple yet daunting: what is the future of this kingdom? It's strange how quickly things can change. Just a few months ago, the village was peaceful, its days filled with the rhythm of nature, the pulse of tradition, and the quiet certainty that life would continue as it always had. Now, that sense of security is shattered. The promise of roads, jobs, and development seems enticing, yet the elders can't help but feel that something precious is being lost. It's not just the land at risk anymore. It's the heart of the village, the ancient traditions, the deep spiritual connection to the jungle, and the stories of ancestors passed down through generations. Will they all disappear for the sake of progress? You hear it from every corner of the village now. The drumbeats that once felt steady now echo with uncertainty. There's an eerie quietness in the air, as if everyone is holding their breath. The day of the decision is drawing near. Soon, the villagers will have to vote on whether to accept the offer to build the road or reject it and preserve their way of life. The night before the vote, the elders gather one final time around the fire. You join them, sitting at the edge of the circle, listening to their voices crackle in the dim light. There's a profound sadness to the gathering, an unspoken acknowledgement that no matter the outcome, something irreplaceable will be lost. The land they've lived on for centuries, the sacred trees that have always been there, might soon become a distant memory. You see, one elder says, his voice rough with age, "We didn't just live on this land, we were part of it. It is in our bones. It is what makes us who we are." He gestures toward the dense jungle surrounding the village. It has protected us, fed us, and taught us. But now the outside world wants to change that. It will never be the same again. You can feel the weight of his words, and yet you can't help but think about the younger generation. For them, the road represents something more than just infrastructure. It's a way out. It's a chance to see a world beyond the jungle, a world that offers opportunities they've only ever dreamed of. Tessa, Malik, and the others, they don't want to forget their roots, but they want something more. They want a future that's different from the one their ancestors envisioned, and their hope is palpable. The following day, the village gathers in the center, each person casting their vote. The decision feels monumental, and you can sense the collective anxiety in the air. The result will determine not just the future of the village, but the future of an entire culture. Can they move forward without sacrificing what makes them unique? Can they create a new identity that blends the old and the new? The moment is heavy with possibility and risk. You watch as the votes are tallied, each one a small but significant step toward defining the village's fate. The results are announced. The decision has been made. The village has voted in favor of the road. For a moment, it's as if the ground beneath you shifts. It's not exactly a victory. It's more like the beginning of something new, something uncertain. The weight of the decision is palpable. The elders sit in stunned silence, their faces unreadable. The younger generation looks hopeful, eager to see what the future will bring. But even as the decision is made, you sense that not everyone is ready to accept it. The tension doesn't dissipate, it only shifts. It's not a celebration. It's a realization that change has come, and with it, a deep sense of responsibility. As the road starts to be built, something strange happens. The village doesn't fall apart. It doesn't lose its soul, at least not entirely. Instead, it begins to evolve. The construction equipment that once seemed like a harbinger of doom becomes a symbol of possibility. The younger generation is taking the lead, blending the old with the new in ways that were unimaginable just a few months ago. They continue the traditions, the storytelling, the rituals, the connection to the land, but they also embrace new technology, new tools, and new opportunities. The road brings not just physical connectivity, but also a new mindset, a new way of looking at the world. And as the road slowly winds its way through the jungle, something begins to change in the villagers themselves. The elders, though reluctant, start to see that perhaps they don't have to choose between the past and the future. Maybe there's a way to keep both. They watch as the younger generation works to incorporate the best of both worlds, and they come to a profound realization. The kingdom doesn't have to be preserved in amber. It can change, grow, and adapt while still staying true to its roots. But it's not easy. The village will have to navigate the complex terrain of modernization, always keeping one eye on the traditions that have kept it grounded for centuries. There will be challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But the decision to build the road wasn't just about infrastructure, it was about survival. It was about acknowledging that the world doesn't wait. And to thrive, they need to adapt. Historians, still debating the costs of modernization, often miss the nuance of such decisions. It's easy to say that progress erodes culture, but the reality is far messier. Cultures are not static, they evolve, they adapt, and they grow. This kingdom is living proof of that. The village may be walking a tightrope, balancing tradition with progress, but there's a sense of hope now, a sense of possibility. For the first time in a long while, it feels like the future is theirs to shape. As you watch the road begin to take shape, you can't help but feel a sense of awe, not just for the road itself but for the resilience of the people here. They've faced challenges before, but this one is different. This time, the kingdom has chosen to move forward. The road isn't just a symbol of change, it's a symbol of survival. It's a bridge between the past and the future, and you're witnessing it being built, step by step. The kingdom has changed, but it hasn't lost its soul. Not yet. Months pass, and with each sunrise, you notice something new. The road, once a distant idea, is slowly becoming a reality. The towering cranes and construction equipment that once seemed foreign to the village now feel like part of the landscape. The hum of engines fills the air, mixing with the sounds of the jungle, creating an odd harmony, a blend of nature and technology. It's strange to think that the village, which had stood still for so long, is now being reshaped by these foreign machines. Yet there's a rhythm to it. The villagers, at first hesitant, have started to adjust. The younger generation, thrilled by the possibilities the road brings, has embraced it with open arms. Tessa, with her newfound interest in medicine, begins to speak with doctors from nearby towns about new treatments. Malik, always obsessed with technology, finds ways to introduce solar power into the village, bringing light to homes that had only known the warmth of fire. They don't want to erase the past. They want to enrich it with the tools of the future. But there's an undercurrent of nostalgia that no one can ignore. The elders, once resigned to the inevitability of the road, now see the first signs of change more clearly than ever. Some are excited by the opportunities that lie ahead. Others are quietly mourning what's slipping away. Kofi, the elder who had once lamented the changing rhythm of the drumbeats, now sits at the edge of the construction site, watching the work unfold. His eyes are distant, as though he's searching for something. Perhaps the past, maybe some answer to the unasked question that lingers in the air. And yet, something remarkable begins to happen. As the village changes, it doesn't lose its essence. The people still gather around the fire at night, sharing stories, singing songs, and honoring the spirits of the land. The jungle remains their protector and their guide. The elders still teach the young ones the ancient songs of the ancestors, ensuring that their history is preserved. The road, it seems, hasn't swept away the past. It's made space for something new to grow. But is that enough? You can't help but wonder. The village has evolved, yes, but does it still carry the same spirit? The question is complicated. The answer, as always, depends on who you ask. Tessa, for one, seems more confident than ever. I want to learn more. I want to heal, she tells you one day. I know the old ways are important, but they need help. I can bring something new to this place. A chance for the people here to live longer, healthier lives. There's a fire in her eyes, and you can see the determination there. But there's something else too. She's carrying the weight of her ancestors' expectations. She wants to honor them, but she also wants to carve out her future. Malik, on the other hand, sees opportunity everywhere. We can use technology to preserve our culture, he explains with excitement. Imagine a digital archive of all our stories, a place where future generations can learn about Nzatsi, about our traditions, without losing them to time. We can make our culture immortal. His eyes gleam at the idea of melding the old with the new. For him, technology isn't a threat. It's a tool to help them hold on to what matters. The elders, though, are more cautious. They watch as the road inches closer to completion, their faces unreadable. You notice that they talk less about tradition now and more about survival. The land is changing, Kofi mutters one evening, staring out at the construction site. "We must change with it, or we will be lost." His words are heavy, and you can sense the conflict in his heart. Is he resigning himself to fate, or is he seeing something that the younger generation can't? One thing is clear: there's no turning back. The road will be finished, and the world will keep coming. You hear the conversations on the edge of the village, talk of new stores, new schools, and the inevitable arrival of outsiders. The promise of progress is undeniable, but with it comes a flood of new questions. Will the village be able to hold on to what's truly important, or will it slowly fade into the background, a relic of a time long past? Historians still debate the role of development in preserving cultures. Some argue that the introduction of modernity leads to the disappearance of tradition, while others believe that cultures evolve through integration. Here, in the heart of the Congo, that debate is no longer theoretical. It's real. It's happening right in front of you. The kingdom is at a crossroads, but it's not a crisis anymore. It's a rebirth, a chance to redefine what it means to be this village, both ancient and modern at the same time. The children of the village, those who grew up watching the construction crews work and hearing the promises of a brighter future, are beginning to see the world differently. They're no longer bound by the traditions that once shaped their lives. They see opportunity in the distance, and with it, the chance to create something that's uniquely their own. They don't just want to preserve the past, they want to build on it. And as the road nears completion, you can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, they've found a way to do both. The kingdom will not fade. The tide of progress will not swallow it. Instead, it will rise. A new kingdom, shaped by its past and propelled by its future. The road, it turns out, isn't just a path to the outside world. It's a path to a new understanding of who they are and where they're going. At the end of it all, there's one thing that stands clear. This kingdom, this forgotten corner of the Congo, has never truly been forgotten. It may have faced hardship, it may have wrestled with change, but through it all, it's remained steadfast. And now, as it begins its journey down a new road, you realize that perhaps the greatest tradition of all is not the preservation of the past, but the courage to move forward. The people here are not just surviving, they're thriving. And as the last brick of the road is laid, you can see the kingdom's future stretch before you. It may look different from the past, but it's still deeply rooted in the spirit of the land. The road isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of something new. The road is finished. It stretches through the jungle like a ribbon of possibility, a tangible link between the old world and the new. As you stand at its edge, looking down the path, you can't help but feel a strange mix of awe and apprehension. It's not just a road, it's the embodiment of a decision that will define the kingdom for generations to come. You look around, and for the first time in months, the village feels different. The dust from the construction site has settled, but there's still a palpable sense of change in the air. The elders, once so sure about the importance of preserving tradition, are quietly watching the younger generation begin to carve out their place in this new reality. Tessa's already started looking into medical supplies that can be brought in via the new road, and Malik has set up a small tech lab where the village's children can learn to code. The young ones, once hesitant, are now enthusiastic, their eyes wide with possibility. But despite the excitement, there's something bittersweet about this new chapter. The first wave of outsiders arrives: traders, tourists, and government representatives. The village, once so remote, is now a stop on the map. New faces, new voices, and new opportunities flood in. It's not all bad, of course. There's money to be made, new products to be sold, and jobs to be had. The villagers are no longer bound by the isolation they once endured. They can now reach beyond the jungle, exchange goods, and even share their stories with the outside world. But at what cost? As you watch the first trucks pull into the village, you can't help but notice that some of the ancient trees that once lined the road have been cut down to make way for the new arrivals. You hear murmurs among the elders as they sit in the shade, watching the bustle with a mixture of curiosity and concern. The road might have brought the promise of progress, but it has also opened the door to change that feels beyond their control. The sacred space where the spirits of the ancestors once whispered now feels a little less holy. Tessa, as always, is full of optimism. "This is the future," she says one evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We have the chance to make a real difference. The road is just the beginning." She talks about creating a medical center, a place where people from neighboring villages can come for treatment. She envisions a modern kingdom, one where technology and tradition coexist. "Imagine," she says, "a village where we heal not just with herbs, but with science. We can save lives, share knowledge, and still honor our roots." There's a spark in her eyes, and you can see that she genuinely believes this vision is possible. Malik, too, is looking ahead. He's been teaching the children how to use computers, setting up a small coding program where they can learn to build websites and apps. "This is the new world," he says, tapping away at a laptop. "We're not just going to adapt, we're going to thrive. We'll build our future." He's full of ideas, excited about the possibilities that technology can offer. The road, for him, is a tool, a way to connect with the larger world and bring that knowledge back to the village. But as the road becomes more established, there's an increasing divide between the old and the new. The elders continue to gather around the fire, telling stories, but the younger generation is spending more time on their phones, learning how to navigate the world of apps and algorithms. Some of the elders, like Kofi, are content with the slower pace of things, still holding on to the belief that the old ways are the only ways. Others are cautiously hopeful, seeing the road as a way to preserve the village's future. But even the most open-minded of them can't shake the feeling that something is slipping away. The village isn't just a physical place anymore. It's an identity in flux. There's no denying that the road has brought change, but whether that change is for the better is still a question that hangs in the air. The sacred land that once seemed untouched is now open to commerce, to outsiders, to the forces of the modern world. The stories of Nzatsi are still passed down, but will the noise of the new world drown them out? Historians have long argued whether progress is a force for good or evil. Some believe that societies must evolve to survive, while others say that the soul of a culture can be lost in the process. But here, in this forgotten kingdom, the battle isn't theoretical. It's real. The kingdom is becoming something new, something that's both ancient and modern at the same time. The question isn't whether the road will lead to success or failure. It's what the kingdom will look like when it gets to the end. As the first new businesses start to set up shop in the village, small stalls selling trinkets and snacks, a pop-up market with goods from the outside world, you see the people adapting in their ways. The elders, while reluctant, begin to realize that the world has changed, and they can either adjust or watch their culture wither. They've lived through enough to understand that survival isn't about resisting change. It's about learning to navigate it. The village's adaptability is a reassuring sign of its potential to thrive in the face of change. But there's something crucial that the village is learning along the way. No matter how much the world changes, no matter how many roads are built or new technologies introduced, the core of their identity, their connection to the land, their stories, their traditions, can never be entirely erased. It will always be there, woven into the fabric of who they are. This commitment to preserving their identity provides a sense of cultural continuity that is both comforting and inspiring. And maybe that's the most important lesson the village has learned. Change is inevitable. The world doesn't stop, and neither can they. But through it all, they've found a way to hold onto the most essential parts of themselves: their roots, their history, and the connection they share with the land. This balance between tradition and modernity is the key to their successful adaptation, inspiring appreciation for their ability to evolve while preserving their cultural identity. In the end, this forgotten kingdom isn't forgotten at all. It's evolving, yes, but it's also enduring. It may be walking down a new road, but the heart of the kingdom remains the same. The people here are not just adapting to the world. They're shaping it, finding ways to blend the best of both worlds. It's a kingdom that's been tested by time, by progress, and by the forces of change. And in the end, it emerges stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The road might have been the catalyst for change, but it's also the symbol of a kingdom that refuses to lose its soul. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where the past and future coexist in harmony, where tradition and progress walk hand in hand. The kingdom is no longer forgotten. It's reborn. It's remarkable how a solitary road can catalyze a profound transformation. A single decision, a solitary action, and suddenly, the future isn't just a distant thought. It's a living, breathing entity unfolding before your eyes. As you witness the village stir each morning, there's a palpable buzz in the air, a blend of excitement, uncertainty, and potential. The road has transcended its physical form of asphalt and gravel. It's now a symbol of the kingdom's rebirth, a fresh chapter in a story that's still being penned. But as the sun rises over the horizon, you realize that the road isn't the only thing that's changed. The villagers themselves have changed. The old ways, once so solid and unshakable, are now being viewed through a new lens. The younger generation, who once dreamed of leaving the kingdom behind, is now seeing it in a different light. Their excitement about the possibilities the future holds is palpable. They're not just looking out at the world beyond the jungle. They're looking inward, trying to figure out how to blend the old with the new. Tessa, for example, has been working with local farmers to introduce new agricultural techniques, ones that combine traditional wisdom with modern science. It's not about abandoning the past, she explains. It's about enhancing it. She's been talking to people from neighboring villages about crop rotation, irrigation systems, and sustainable farming practices. We don't have to choose between tradition and progress, she says with conviction. We can do both. We can honor the land and use new ideas to help it grow. Malik, too, has found a way to integrate technology with tradition. He started a small digital archive where people can upload and share the stories of their ancestors, preserving them for future generations. If we don't document our history, it will be lost, he tells you one afternoon, his fingers flying across the keyboard. But that doesn't mean we're forgetting where we come from. We're making sure the future knows who we are. As the weeks go by, the village begins to take shape in a way that's both familiar and new. The road has opened the door to opportunities. New businesses, new ideas, new connections with the outside world. But it hasn't erased the kingdom's essence. The sacred lands remain, the stories continue, and the connection to the jungle still runs deep. The elders, despite their initial reservations, are learning and adapting. They're seeing the benefits of embracing the road, even if they're not entirely comfortable with it. We've lived through worse, Kofi says one evening as he watches a group of children playing with solar-powered lights. This is just another step forward. Their resilience is a testament to the village's strength. But it's not all smooth sailing. The outside world has its own set of challenges. New influences, new ideas, and new pressures are starting to creep in. The traders who once brought in goods from distant cities now bring more than just products. They get new ways of thinking, new values, and new ways of doing business. Some of these values sit uncomfortably with the village's deep sense of community and spirituality. You hear whispers about the arrival of multinational companies offering jobs that promise higher pay but require people to leave the village for months at a time. There are talks about mining, too, about the potential for wealth but at a cost. The land is rich in resources, but will the village's sacred connection to it be torn apart in the pursuit of profit? It's a dilemma that the village can't ignore. The elders, though more open-minded than before, are still wary. The younger generation, ever hopeful, is excited about the possibilities, but they're also feeling the weight of responsibility. They want to make their mark on the world, but they don't want to sell out. They don't want to be another forgotten kingdom, swept away by the forces of greed and exploitation. They're trying to figure out how to navigate this new reality without losing themselves along the way. And therein lies the actual test: equilibrium. How can they harmonize the need for progress with the desire to safeguard their culture and traditions? Can they assimilate the modern world without diluting the essence of who they are? It's a question that permeates every conversation, every decision, every step they take. But there's an undeniable spirit in the village that can't be overlooked. Despite the hurdles, despite the uncertainty, there's a profound resilience here. A silent, unyielding belief that regardless of the circumstances, they'll find a way to adapt, to flourish, to endure. It's easy to look at this kingdom from the outside and think that it's just another quaint village, lost in time. But what you've come to realize is that this village isn't frozen in the past. It's living, breathing, and evolving. It's finding its place in a rapidly changing world, while still holding onto the things that matter most. The road, while it has brought change, has also given the village the tools it needs to shape its future. As the months slip by, the kingdom begins to take on a new identity, one that's rooted in tradition but reaching for the stars. The road may have been the catalyst, but it's not the destination. The actual journey lies ahead, and it's a journey the people of this kingdom will travel together, with one foot in the past and the other in the future. Historians will continue to debate whether this is the beginning of something great or the end of something beautiful. But here, in the heart of the Congo, you've learned something important. Progress isn't about forgetting the past. It's about learning from it. It's about taking the lessons of history, the wisdom of ancestors, and using them to build a future that's better, stronger, and more inclusive. The road may have altered the kingdom, but it hasn't changed the people. They remain the same, still deeply rooted in the land and still connected. As long as that connection endures, the kingdom will never truly be lost. The road is a symbol, more than just a strip of concrete. It's the line that divides what the kingdom was from what it can become. And now, as the last remnants of the construction phase fade into the background, it's clear that the village is no longer the quiet, forgotten kingdom it once was. The town has transformed, yes, but so have the people within it, showing remarkable resilience in the face of change. The change isn't just in the visible roads, buildings, and new technology. It's in the mindset, the very way the villagers see themselves and their place in the world. The elders, once resistant, now speak of the road not as a threat, but as a bridge to a new chapter. It's not about abandoning tradition, they say. It's about incorporating the wisdom of the past into the opportunities of the future. You can feel the village's pulse quicken. People move faster now with purpose. There's a quiet energy that wasn't there before. It's as if the road has brought with it not just development, but an awakening. And you see it everywhere you go. When you pass by the market, you notice more than just goods from the outside world being sold. There's also an exchange of ideas, people discussing everything from farming techniques to new ways to tell stories. It's a culture that's starting to blend, beginning to evolve into something uniquely its own, uniting the villagers in a shared journey of change. Tessa's medical initiatives are making a noticeable difference. The clinic she helped establish, initially a small room with a handful of supplies, has blossomed into a fully functioning health center, where people from surrounding villages come for treatment. The young ones, so eager to learn, have begun to help, gaining knowledge that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. There's still the herbal medicine that's passed down from their grandparents, but now it's complemented by modern treatments. Tessa walks the line between the two worlds, never forgetting the old but always seeking the new. She's the living embodiment of the village's new reality, rooted in tradition, but reaching for something more. Malik, too, has found his place in this new world. The digital archive he started has become a treasure trove of stories, photos, and videos that chronicle the village's history. It's a mix of past and present. Some stories are still being written. The younger generation is adding to it every day, posting videos of traditional dances, songs, and stories. But they're also uploading their creations, blog posts, digital art, and videos, showing the outside world what this place is all about. They're not just preserving the past, they're giving it a new life, in new forms. But even as the village is evolving, some of the elders still sit by the fire, holding onto their roots. They see the changes, yes, but they don't see them as a replacement. Instead, they see them as an evolution of what has always been. Kofi, the eldest of the elders, has become an unlikely champion of change. The village, he says one evening, was never meant to stay the same forever. What matters is that we don't forget where we came from. His voice carries the weight of generations, but there's a new light in his eyes, a light that says he's ready for the next chapter. Their guidance and acceptance of change are a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. The outside world has found its way in. The traders, the tourists, the government officials, They've all come with their promises. But something unexpected has also emerged. A deeper connection between the village and the outside world. One that isn't defined by money or exploitation. It's an exchange of ideas, an exchange of knowledge. The villagers aren't just passive recipients of change. They're actively shaping it. They're learning from the outside world, while also sharing their unique culture and traditions. And in doing so, they've redefined what it means to be part of the world. The road, once a symbol of fear and uncertainty, has become a tool for the kingdom's reinvention. It's the pathway to the future, but it's also the bridge that links the past to the present. The people here have learned something profound. That progress doesn't have to mean losing everything that makes them who they are. It's not about choosing between the old and the new. It's about finding a way to weave them together, creating something richer, something more meaningful. This balance is crucial in the face of change, emphasizing the necessity of harmony. But even as the village flourishes, there are moments of doubt. Can they sustain this balance? Can they preserve what makes them unique while embracing the inevitable forces of the outside world? The road may have opened doors, but what if those doors lead them somewhere they weren't prepared to go? The kingdom still stands on a precipice, caught between tradition and progress, between preservation and transformation. And the journey is far from over. Historians often talk about the power of borders, the lines that divide one place from another, one culture from another. But in the case of this kingdom, the road doesn't divide. Connects. It blurs the lines between what's outside and what's inside. It challenges the idea that cultures should remain static, locked in time, unchanged. Instead, it suggests that cultures can evolve, adapt, and grow while still maintaining their core values. It's not about abandonment, it's about evolution. And the more you think about it, the more you realize this isn't just a story about a village in the Congo. It's a story about all of us, about how we all face moments of transition, moments of change, and moments of doubt. It's about how we navigate the world around us, how we balance what we value with what we need to survive. In the end, it's not about whether change is good or bad, it's about how we respond to it. The road isn't the end of the journey, it's just the beginning. And as you stand here, watching the kingdom evolve, you realize something. It's not just the village that's changing, it's you too. You're seeing the world differently, understanding that change doesn't have to be feared, can be embraced. It can be used to create something better. The village may have started as a forgotten kingdom in the Congo, but it's no longer forgotten. It's alive, it's thriving, and it's ready for whatever comes next. And just like the people here, you now see that the road ahead is full of possibilities. And as long as the kingdom stays true to itself, it will continue to walk confidently into the future, rooted in the past but reaching for the stars.